The movie, which takes place in the North African desert in the year 8000 BC, opens with what looks to be a spaceship descending from the sky over a tribe of people who live in tents at night. A powerful blast of wind causes a state of chaos, and all but one of the villagers to escape in terror. A young boy starts walking up to the spaceship and eventually gets pulled towards the ship by its light and vanishes into thin air. The scene fast forwards to Egypt in the 1920s at Giza, with gigantic pyramids everywhere. The pyramids are a symbol of human evolution and show that the humans are no longer wild or tribal. Apparently, an excavation is underway at the base of the pyramids. During this excavation, they find a lot of strange ancient artifacts. Later, we see the recently arrived foreign professor named Langford, who is excitedly led by one of the excavators to see what has been unearthed, a row of cover stones that have been hidden in the sand. A huge metal ring in the shape of a circle that was discovered beneath these stones is suddenly raised, giving us our first look at the stargate. During the excavation, Catherine, the daughter of Professor Langford, finds a golden locket and decides to keep it for herself. Once more, through time travel, we find ourselves in the year 1994 in contemporary America. Catherine Langford stealthily approaches the door of a lecture hall, where Daniel Jackson, a specialist in Egyptology and a linguist, Jackson speaks several ancient languages and is desperately and unsuccessfully trying to persuade a group of scholars to reevaluate accepted beliefs regarding the pyramid's initial construction. He claims that the Egyptian pyramids were not built by the Egyptians, but no one is willing to believe him. As they leave the theater during his presentation, Catherine approaches Daniel, who it turns out is poor and without a permanent home. Catherine is still working on the Stargate project, and later, in the course of a conversation in her car, she convinces him to join a project as a translator, since they are in need of a person who can understand ancient languages and scriptures. Eventually, Daniel arrives at the base, and within a few seconds, he starts correcting some ancient words written on the board. Next, we are in America, seeing Jack O'Neill's deactivation from the military owing to mental health issues stemming from his son's recent accidental death from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Jack is obviously suicidal and sad. As we arrive at an American Air Force installation in Colorado, the nature of Catherine's work for Daniel soon becomes clear. Daniel is immediately put to work fixing a translation of an old Egyptian script, rejecting the early work as erroneous. Daniel is then shown a huge stone that apparently is the same stone found in the pyramids of Egypt in 1928. Initially, Daniel struggles to understand the writing on the stone. One day, he comes across a newspaper that has pictures of some stars. The group of stars is called the Orion Belt. It is believed that the pyramids of Egypt are closely related to the Orion Belt. Taking advantage of it, Daniel quickly compares the Orion Belt with the scriptures and discovers that some of the symbols he is given are, in fact, coordinates related to a solar system map, and he reports his discoveries to a group of military officers. Daniel draws a three-dimensional cube on the board, on which he marks 6 points and merges them together. He clarifies that they map out a path to an unidentified beginning location. Next, the leader of this group, Special Operations Colonel Jack O'Neill, leads Daniel and the team to an operations room where they show him the Stargate previously unearthed in Egypt by Catherine's father. Using Daniel's findings and coordinates, the group is able to activate it by computer and use the Stargate to open a wormhole, providing a pathway to a distant planet, which they discover by sending in a probe, although the signal from the probe is lost almost immediately. At this point, it is revealed that O'Neill is planning to take a unit of men through the wormhole to explore the planet at the other end. Daniel is recruited to join them, on the understanding he will be able to use his knowledge of the ancient script to help them in return. He is handed a golden amulet with a hieroglyphic symbol on it for luck by Catherine, which he wears around his neck. With Daniel at the rear, the heavily armed group venture through the gate, find themselves whizzing through the outer reaches of space. They eventually arrive on a sandy desert planet that very much resembles Egypt, facing a very familiar-looking pyramid. Not long into their adventure, with some of the team eager to make a quick return to Earth, an argument soon breaks out, as they find out heading back will not be as simple as they thought. It turns out that before they may utilize the stargate, Daniel has to find the written code. One of the soldiers throws Daniel's bookcase at him during the altercation. In the distance, he notices a big, odd-looking animal as he is gathering them up. Daniel walks up to it unfazed, hands it food, tries to pet it, and says that since it's wearing a harness, it must be safe. With several of the group, including O'Neill, pursuing, the beast gives up and flees, pulling Daniel along for the ride over numerous sand dunes. After the animal licks Daniel's face, and Daniel regains consciousness, the gang encounters a mining village that seems to be living in pretty primitive conditions and bears a striking resemblance to the ancient Egyptians shown at the start of the movie. After seeing Daniel's amulet, the villagers first bow and then act friendly when he gives their leaders some chocolate. We extend a warm greeting to the group. Through the use of a scanning gadget, they learn that these people are mining the substance that was used to create the Stargate, which was thought to have alien origins by Earth researchers. The chieftain, Kasuf, gives Daniel a present from his daughter Shauri and some unusual food that he claims tastes like chicken during their time together with the people. The locals now consider them to be married as a result. Meanwhile, O'Neill becomes friends with Skara, the chief's son, by teaching him how to use a lighter and giving it to him. The last of the soldiers are forced to seek cover inside the pyramid at the base camp from a fierce sandstorm. They fight, with two of them dying and the others being taken prisoner, when the ship from the opening moments arrives later. The already sporadic radio communication with O'Neill is lost. As a result of his bond with Shauri, Daniel is able to investigate his new surroundings and soon discovers a familiar ancient writing, which he learns to pronounce and uses to converse with the locals. He also learns about the settlement's past, including how the inhabitants here were transported from Earth as slaves. Following a revolt among similarly enslaved people on Earth, he discovers that the leader, Ra, has banned writing here. He also quickly discovers 6 of the coordinates needed to open the Stargate and return home. But the 7th has been broken off, worn away, and remains elusive. O'Neill, concerned about his surviving troops' lack of communication, decides to take action and takes his squad back to the pyramid, where they are captured and brought before Ra and his guards, all of whom appear to be humanoid when they retract their metallic red casings. Ra appears to be the same villager that was drawn to the spaceship years ago. Daniel is murdered in a brief skirmish to resist their imprisonment, but is later restored by Ra, who explains that he decided to live in a human body because they are so easy to repair. At this point, Daniel begins to understand the reality about O'Neill's goal. Turns out, he was transporting an atomic bomb with him, which, he later found out, he is planning to set off to destroy the Stargate on this planet once the others head back. It seems he's on a suicide mission. Angry, Ra declares he will send this bomb back to Earth via the wormhole, laced with a locally mined mineral, to make it 100 times more powerful so as to wipe out humanity. Daniel, however, is offered the chance of life if he executes his military companions. In front of a large gathering of the miners, instead, Daniel turns a weapon upon Ra and his henchmen, and with the assistance from the now armed locals, led by Skara, they all escape to some nearby caves. It is here that the now defiant Skara defies Ra's no-writing rule and creates a sign, which Daniel quickly recognizes as the missing 7th symbol needed to unlock the Stargate. Ra sends ships to attack Kasuf's people in retaliation for the rebellion, but the people, headed by O'Neill, defeat their overseers, seize their weapons, and march back to the pyramid. Under attack, they swiftly find their troops separated, with O'Neill, Daniel, and Shauri stuck inside the pyramid, and a squad of roughly 20, led by O'Neill's second-in-command, Kowalski, unable to gain entry. After coming under air attack, Kowalski's crew runs out of ammo and raises their hands in surrender, as instructed by him. But just as they are about to be captured, Kasuf appears on top of a neighboring sand dune, surrounded by the whole mining community. They rush down, take on Ra's troops, and win because of their size. In the meantime, O'Neill battles Ra's main guard inside the pyramid after finding the bomb and setting the timer. Eventually, O'Neill defeats Ra by triggering a highly sophisticated teleportation gadget and crushing him with it. Daniel is also able to bring Sha'uri back to life, who had been killed in the earlier encounter, by utilizing Ra's technology. When they are reunited with O'Neill, there are only a few seconds left before the devices go off, so they decide to transfer the bomb up to Ra's ascending spacecraft while he is attempting to flee. We see a glimpse of Ra's former alien self as the bomb detonates and rips apart Ra and his ship. Now that the external threats have been neutralized, Daniel and the soldiers may reopen the Stargate, and the once melancholic O'Neill is feeling happier and more prepared to return to Earth. Daniel, on the other hand, decides to stay on the planet with his wife, but, as a farewell gesture, puts the amulet into O'Neill's palm and asks him to tell Catherine that it has really brought him luck. With that being said, that is it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comment section which movie you want us to recap in the next video.